Hey y'all, back at it again, Beer Bros Golf Show. I am Rod.
And I'm Marcus.
Welcome back to the show. Um, in- Interesting week. I mean, I don't know. I watched a lot of the Rocket Mortgage Classic. The older gents were out there playing. Caught a little bit of that drama with
hmm
Patrick Harrington. I don't know, man. We'll get into it, but I'm starting to feel a certain way about Mr. Harrington. Um, let's get started on the PGA Tour. Mr. I'm gonna have to look at it every time I say it. Aldrich Potgieter, 20-year-old husky man. Not that I can say much, but uh, beefy boy. You know, bringing out the big stick, a long hitter. South African, finally able to get across the finish line. He's scared the trophy stand quite a few times early on in his career. So finally crossing the finish line. Five-hole playoff, three-man initially to start with Chris Kirk and Max Greyserman, a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, and a 40-year-old going at it in the playoff. And after some kind of ho-hum golf, which I think we've been seeing quite a bit from playoffs here as of late, Potgieter was able to cross the finish line and get his first PGA Tour win. What'd you think about it? How much of it did you catch? And did you get to see the playoff live in person?
Yeah, I saw the playoff. I saw, I guess I didn't see that much of the weekend golf, but I saw Thursday, Friday quite a bit. So knew it was gonna be a barn burner. It always is out there, but I mean, it's a fun course to play. It present. It's like a spin-off of the Travelers. It gives you
Yeah,
like a refreshing, difference from the hard ass courses you usually see or had coming out of with the Memorial and the US Open back to back. So gave the boys a chance to go out there and go low as possible. You saw that the first couple of days, you saw 61, you saw a 62. So yeah, the boys were out there firing it and Pot Gear, it just seemed like he had it kind of was in contention from the jump. He shot the original 62, the original course record, before
right.
Jake Knapp came and nipped him on that on Friday. But overall, I mean, the course presented well. I mean, I always enjoy when the players come out and get a chance to pull the driver out and just go deep as possible. Pause. But it definitely was fun. The playoff, it really just proves, like, I wanted to text you multiple times and just tell you that, yeah, golf is hard, bro. Like, these dudes I mean, the pressure is, insurmountable. I could only imagine what they were going through. Chris Kirk hadn't won in a while. Max Greyserman hasn't won at all. Pagier has been in a situation before. So, three different levels of pressure and three different avenues of getting there to the playoff. All of them had opportunities down the stretch to kind of,
Make a
take it
play.
by themselves in regulation. Yeah, Chris Kirk had the first chance. Um, he shot a 67 on Sunday, but could have been a 66. He just didn't even give it a chance. But everybody can't read greens. I mean I think that's really like what I like realize week in week out is people's ability to read greens and be like a substantial good putter. Like I think that is a talent in itself. Like I think that's something that people take for granted. Being able to read greens, being able to read pace and grain and all that stuff incorporated in the same jargon. So um
I mean, I
yeah, I
think
mean,
it's the separator. I mean, you don't get to the PGA
agreed.
Tour being a bad ball striker. I mean, even though there may be different levels of how well they strike the ball, there's always going to be you know separators there,
Yeah,
but none of them are bad at striking the
right.
ball and can get the ball on the green. And so then it's like proximity and then making putts at the end of the day, right? Taking advantage
Yeah.
of the holes that you can. The course actually played longer than I thought it. There, I mean, there's some shorties out there, but it played just short of 7,400 yards. So that's a pretty nice pop. It's not like they were playing. The Travelers was under 7,000. So
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
stretched it out a little bit there in Detroit. You know, a little bit old school style. You know, but they were able, like you said, to whip out the big stick. Not a lot of gearing down where they were having to go 3 woods off the tees. You see it here and there, but it's not
yeah,
like that was the bulk of the round. So I mean, I like I said, I always like watching that course for whatever reason. It's just it's a bit of a change up. I like the finishing hole gives folks a chance to score. Um, it's a it looks weird just even on TV the way from an eye view standpoint. So I can't imagine how it feels in person to hit on that
yeah.
18th tee out there. In the playoff, I
Cutting
found it very interesting.
corners,
Yeah,
cutting
found it
corners and
inter-
stuff like that.
found it interesting on that par three that they were playing. That was in the rotation or during the playoff. The different clubs that they chose. So Potgieter went long the first time with a 9 iron, pulled it again on the second time around on that hole, and then just kind of like slapped it up there. Um, versus Greyserman hit like a wedge the first time, and then went 9, perfect wedge, hole high,
Yeah,
just didn't make the putt. Then went 9 and ended up very front of the green. So, uh, yeah, like you said, pressure is a mother, and you could tell similar emotions from Gracerman that we saw from Tommy Fleetwood last week. Just being close again and not being able to cross the finish line. Hopefully learning the lessons that they can bring back to the drawing. From the drawing board
yeah,
and figure it out the next time they're in that position. So
definitely. I just want to input as we transition to the next point. I was playing this morning with one of our few remaining members at my golf course that I work at, and he said something that kind of not tilted me, but like it was kind of like confusing because he was like, not a lot of big names this week on the tournament, and I'm like, did did you watch at all? Like the next up and coming product is already here, plus names that are very familiar with us. Like I'm not sitting here discounting anything Collin Morikawa's done as a major winner. Like, let's just put that on the forefront right now. Like, we're not going to
right.
just disregard what he's done. Keegan Bradley played this week. Like, that's two names already. That's Captain America, and then a guy that's been in golf news for like 4 or 5 months in a row. So, not only that, then you got Max Homa, then you got the Gary Woodlands. You got you know
I mean, Jake
journeyman
Knapp's been making a name for
Jake
himself the last
now.
couple of years.
Right. It really baffled me that he would say that.
Well, I
Just
think
kind
casuals, right? I mean, there's different
of, yeah,
folks out here who just don't watch, I guess, as much as we do or pay attention to the names. I
true.
mean, I don't know. I mean, even before we started doing this, and one of the motivations to actually do it was that we've always paid attention, right? It's
Yeah.
not always
No,
about the
fact.
stars. I mean, these guys are highly talented. Like you said, Matt Fitzpatrick, major winner. Hideki Matsuyama, you already mentioned Minwoo Lee. Ben Griffin, who's a two-time winner this year. Um,
So many
I'm a
names.
I'm a weirdo, so like this is how niche it gets for me. Like I always like to see Mark Hubbard out there
No,
because he's a
really.
character, and I think he's a good player. And his time, he's getting older and long in the tooth, but he's a good guy, and I like to see him pushing leaderboards. Cam
Yeah.
Champ trying to make a resurgence this year with the top 20.
Yeah.
Um, Akshay Bhatia,
Plenty
who's
of
had a
names.
quiet year. So many names.
Yeah. Camille Villegas. The live guy, James Pyatt. I mean, there's so many names. Adam Hadwin. Let's see. The guy with the Nike irons, Paul Peterson, Cam Young was there. I mean, bruh, come on, man.
I
Michael
I had
Cantley,
totally
Patrick
I had totally forgot about the Pyatt story. I mean, so many people made the cut. I think this was the highest amount of players that have ever made a cut on a
Yeah, like
PGA Tour event.
75 or something like that. It was
Right,
crazy.
right. So if you went home, actually it was 86. 86 players made the
Jeez.
cut.
They should have
So
had a
if you make,
secondary cut, probably.
I know, so if you went home, you probably felt real bad about your week. You had no, um, you know, no
Man,
solace
you
in
had to
what you
shoot
did.
six. You had to shoot at least six to make it.
Right. I mean, but with those three course records essentially, right? Two on the first day, then Jake Knapp resetting it completely. I mean, you could go low, right? And you
Yeah,
almost could think that that it would be mid 20s in terms of the final number, but
yeah,
the guys in the playoff went to 22 under, respectable. It is a scoring course, but it didn't get out of control. It wasn't pushing 30 like the Byron Nelson out at
right.
TPC Craig Ranch. It just
Yeah.
it's got some challenges to it. It's got some teeth. The
Which
rough
we
was
thought was
definitely
tough.
roughing. Yeah.
I mean, that's
So
crazy because TD Craig Ranch is pretty tough for like just like some amateur regular low to mid handicappers, and they was just going out there eating
yeah,
it for lunch.
I think the length it messes with a lot of amateurs, and I mean that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. But let's get into the kind of an abbreviated version of Aldrich Potgieter's "What's in the Bag" that he filmed with another channel. So I'm going to pull this up really quick. Don't get the full bag and all the deets, but just enough to get an idea of what he's got going on.
And then moving on to your irons, you've got 4 to
4 to 9
yeah,
in the new T150.
Okay, awesome. Let's have a look at those.
Yeah, they've been great. I hit those last week as well. They've been awesome.
Right,
just
okay.
off the tee, it's just very consistent.
What shaft have you got in those as well?
That's the KBS, the V10.
Right,
the
okay.
130 gram.
So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wedges in your bag.
Usually I would have 5.
You always have 5,
these
and then
are-
you're just testing these two at the moment.
Yeah. So the 46 is a 55.
Yep.
So it's been bent one stronger. I had a lot of gaps that I needed to fill. They were pretty big, and I was struggling to kind of soften that shot, maybe to a front flag. So we changed that and made the 50. I think that was a 51.
Right.
And then that's gone to a 56, and I got the 54. So it kind of gets the gaps a lot better.
Got two 60-degree wedges in the bag today. So what's the difference in those two, and what are you working on? What are you trying to sort of find in the difference? What are you working out there for that first wedge?
Mustache
Yeah,
and
I mean the
head
K grind. I would say if you're opening it up, it's a lot thicker.
Right.
With the T grind, it's got very little bounce. So this one has basically 3 angles. When you're keeping it straight, it's sitting flat. When you're opening it, it's kind of a bit more bolded.
Okay.
Where this one's kind of got just a big V edge in the
you
middle.
Can see, so you can see almost the 3 steps there, if you like, in the difference in the bounce. Whereas with this one, you've just got the 2 there, you got the sole, and then it sort of fades away there. So you're just trying to get a little bit more versatility maybe out of that one?
Yeah, this one be firm bunkers, so maybe firm surfaces. That'll be a big.
They're saying this one and that
Maybe
one,
just
but
get
not
kinda
mentioning if
underneath
it's
that
the
ball.
T grind or the K
This one
grind.
with a bit softer.
I don't know.
You're going to get more forgiveness with that strike.
And is there any sort of particular personalization you like on these? I've just seen, obviously, there's the AP on those. You like it pretty clean, and you've got that kind of rusty finish. You prefer the rust over time?
I like it. I mean, I wouldn't mind playing with just the regular finish, but the rust makes it look a little bit cool. So.
All right, then, let's wrap up with looking at the putter.
So this is 009. I got this a couple of years ago in California, made for me, so that was pretty special after I won the British Am. So that was a cool present from them, and I've used it probably since December last year. Had a good finish with that.
Which golf ball model do you use, and kind of why?
So this is the Pro V1X Plus ball. So I think it's more spin, a little faster ball. So with the driver, it kind of keeps it in the air in that right window. And with the irons, it spins a little bit more.
Well, thank you so much for talking us through your bag there. I really, really appreciate it.
It's Golf Monthly, right?
No, this is Golf a Lot.
Okay.
So shout out to them. Felt weird seeing that. I don't know. I don't know why, but it made me uncomfortable the way he was grabbing the man's clubs rather than just letting him show the clubs. It's kind of
Yeah,
like, come on, man. It's weird, but
yeah. Our
interesting.
other guy, Tedge Talks. He did a run through. I actually meant to send you the video. So he did a full bag. He did the 009. He's playing. I think this recently he's playing the four wedges. I think.
He
Um,
took one out.
yeah, he took one out. 4 and 5 are the T150s, and then I think he's playing 6, 7, 8, 9 are the T100s, and then the rest are the Vokies. V10 is a stiffer, boardier shaft, is what they were saying. The KBS shaft is what Equipment Junkie Test
Yeah,
Talks was
because
saying.
I had never heard of that version, the V10. I mean, we've
Right.
heard a lot of
It's
different
like
KBS.
so essentially what it is they have, since you can only go a certain stiffness on the shaft, like the only way past that is to thicken the shaft or widen the diameter to make it a little bit boardier and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So that's essentially what the KBS V10 is. He played the T100 or the X100, the True Tempers for a little bit. Didn't work out. Went back to the V10s. So yeah, I think he plays probably the stiffest clubs on tour right now.
Right.
Um, Driver is the GT2, recently changed from the GT3. Venice Black 8X, Ping G440 3 wood. I think he's playing that standard 15 degrees, but again, just another just crazy hard stiff shaft. And then I think he goes 2 iron into his 4 or 5, and his two
Just depending
iron
on the wedge setup.
Correct. And then his 2 iron is a 90. It's the new T250, and it's a 90 Tour X something or other. I mean, it's stiff. It's boardy as hell.
That's a heavy kind of driving iron shaft. We
Right.
usually see that at like 80 grams.
And he
So
just
yeah,
whips through that shit. It's just too easy for my mans.
it does. So he's also bucking the trend of skinny golfers. He said, "Hey, Will Zalatoris, hold my beer. You know
Yeah.
who needs that little, who needs a flat stomach and
But he
a
athletic
workout
though.
program." He is.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
is.
flexible. He's flexible. He's got a big turn. I mean, he's like, to me, he honestly is like John Daly reincarnated for this current generation. But probably without the other trouble.
No, I was gonna say he sounded very mature. You can just kind of
Yeah,
tell that he's got a good head on his shoulders. Very thankful of his parents and all the sacrifices that they've made. Seems like
absolutely.
they've left South Africa, went to Australia, and then kind of over here to the U.S. is where he's been based since then. So,
Yeah,
yeah, shout out to the kid. Hopefully, again, we always wish good tidings for first time winners that this is not their only stop in the winner circle and they can continue the momentum and find something in their game. But looks like a highly talented kid that we'll see him around for quite some time, especially with that distance off the tee. If he can stay healthy, I think he's going to have a bright future.
yeah, absolutely agree.
Let's see. Also from the PGA week, Collin Morikawa making news early on in the week. Um, let's get through the drama first. So again, rehashing stuff with the media. I mean, I don't know. I'm becoming quite annoyed with Collin because he's not very. I mean, he kind of went directly at a reporter this week, just saying you're not going to take shots at me, but still being vague. So it's like real inside baseball type stuff where you just don't know all the ins and outs, but he's addressing it publicly. He doesn't look great because, as we've said, always doesn't do a great job of verbalizing his issues. We've
Yeah,
seen and come to appreciate Scotty being able to have a real issue, describe it vividly, have us all understand where he's coming from. Collin,
Yeah.
however, just sounds like a whiny kid, especially now that he's not playing very well. In addition to the caddy drama, that he's on second caddy of the year. Um, just dropped Joe Griner, who was Max Homa's caddy earlier on in the year. So I don't
Yeah.
know if it's Joe the problem? Is are Max and Collin the problem? I don't know. But another caddy change for Collin. Looks like he had an old college teammate on the bag this week. Tough first round. I was able to watch quite a bit of that on the ESPN coverage in the first round. Made the putter switch to a really nice. They're calling it a spider, but it's
Oh,
yeah. I
my
don't know
goodness.
but it's
One of the
nice.
sexiest putters I've ever seen. My goodness, that thing was, oh, Lord.
So
I'm
tell me
about
your
to
thoughts.
buzz.
Co- Give your thoughts. I'm gonna pull up a picture of the putter.
Yeah, so, well, first of all, Colin being Colin, again, with the media, they're going to say some stupid stuff. You just got to kind of brush it off. He tried to come at this angle that, you're not going to keep just, throwing shots at me and I'm not going to defend myself, but I'm going to defend myself. But all the media did was continue to ask guided questions. He skipped right over what was happening with the Rocket Mortgage, what was going to happen with the John Deere and upcoming events that way. The Scottish Open. I mean, we got, 2 weeks left before the Open. He went straight to the Open and was
Yeah.
like, who's going to be your caddy for the Open? And of course, it happened to be the guy that, apparently is writing articles about him and, throwing, sly comments about him or whatever. And he's like, yeah, he nodded and was like, trying to hear the answer. And then just went straight off on a tangent and went straight for the dude's neck. I'm like, I didn't really get it. And I'm not going to sit here and Google Collin Morikawa, Allen reporter, and try to figure out what interview and what article they talking about.
Right.
Like, if you gonna talk about the issue, talk about the issue. You just talking about the man's and what he said. We don't know what that is. As niche as this
Right.
sport is, please give us some type of guiding light to where we can go search that out. Because we will if we have an opportunity to. So
Again, he looks like he's flailing. He looks like he's really out of control right now.
this is kind of like the hit dog holler thing going on. Because
Yeah.
you don't really even need to address that. Just say some smart ass comment back and be like, I don't know. We'll know when we get there. Type shit. And then move on.
Right.
I don't know why you made that a big deal. Because you could feel the tension as you saw just a little small clip that we had. I mean, you could tell
He
just
got
all the
red
other
and everything.
all the other reporters just probably looking around like, you see him? Should we record this? Like, what's going on? You know what's
I know,
going on?
right?
I don't know. And then,
Let me pull this. Go ahead.
Yeah, but anyways, that's neither here nor there. Collin Morikawa ended up shooting a decent round in the second round, and we'll just hope for the best and see that if this new putter brings him some joy. But man, I mean, the aluminum sole on the. I mean, I didn't think I'd be this much of a fan of the plumber's neck, but it is definitely intriguing me now. It is. But I mean, that is one of the coldest looking putters I've ever seen. You know me, I love a blacked out putter. That's like a 105-gram shaft or something like that. The Diamante putting shaft. As they went through the specs, I mean, it's just amazing, bro.
Yeah, but that matte black looks really good. Seems like he said with the more bladed style putter that he was having a hard time getting the face closed and completing the stroke, so he was leaving quite a few putts out to the right, pushing them. So that's the thing. We've been saying this since Scotty put the spider in the bag a couple of years ago. If putting is where the money is made, as we discussed earlier on in the show, that is the separator. Why would you put a harder tool in your bag.
Right.
Leave the ego aside, get some help, use the technology that's available. I mean, I will mention it, I guess. I didn't watch much of the DP World Tour. I kept falling asleep. I would watch it, fall asleep throughout the weekend. But one thing I did notice is that dang Lab DF3 is going worldwide. It's everywhere. It's
Yeah.
a lot of guys on the DP World Tour were playing it. I'm seeing amateurs with it. I've seen it at least 3 times now out on the course. So, I mean, even if that thing can
Hey,
get run, use the technology. It's out there.
right. If people got $800 to spend on that thing, go ahead, bro. You listen. I am not
Right.
gonna hate if you
All the
got the
shaft
bread to do it.
upgrades.
Right, bro. It's insane to me. The recent one where they have the hosel on the what they're calling the little offset and not center shafted, that kind of appeals to me. But I mean, I just don't get it. But like we were saying about putting, um, again, when people are trying to make just a more defined and disciplined straight back, straight through stroke or a lesser arc on the putter, the blade is not going to help you with that. The blade is for you to open it and close it. That's the stroke that it wants you to make. It's a traditional
Mhm.
toe hang. So everything wants to fall that way. So if you're trying to hinge the wrist and hold on to it, you're going to wipe it. You're going to miss it right every time. The mallet putter is literally built to be straight back, straight through and have as little toe close as possible. So it's going to set up square and it's going to return this square easier than a blade ever will. So
Yeah.
again, technically speaking and teaching wise speaking, the mallet putter is easier to teach and it is easier to game. So why people want to be cute and think that they're better with a blade and stuff like that, to each their own. But listen, you got to match the stroke with the putter that you have. So just keep that in mind. And I'll keep reiterating that every time we get into
Yeah.
this.
What do you think about the caddy change, though? I mean, we've touched on this quite a few times this year
Yeah,
because there's been an unusual amount of caddy rotation, high profile, right? I mean,
right,
typically
true.
we don't see the top name guys go through this many changes within a short period of time. We've seen JT go through quite a few changes. Um, we've seen, I mean, Patrick
Yeah,
Cantlay's been stable, but he had a change. Clearly Max Homa, clearly Collin Morikawa as of late. There's been a handful of others where you're just like, what's going on? And we
yeah,
also see on the opposing side where there is stability, where there is a matchup that works. Scotty Scheffler comes to mind. As soon as he matched up with Ted Scott, we saw Scotty ascend. Right, it was a pretty clear like, hey, this is my guy, and
yeah,
we were aware of Scotty, but he really took off and started winning at a different clip at that point. So what do you
yeah.
think about the caddy struggles? Do you think it's coming from Collin and he's been? I mean, we know what we see publicly. Do you think that is what's happening in the background and why he couldn't get along with, Griner?
I think um unfortunately, it has to do a lot with personality matchups, especially when you're talking about this amount of money being thrown around for a game that everybody can play at the highest, but not at the highest level. I think it has to do with kind of what matches up best with your personality. Doesn't matter the skill level. It doesn't matter like the wisdom that you bestow upon somebody as a caddy. If y'all not vibing, it doesn't matter. And I think again, we've talked about this with Rory. I think a guy as cerebral as Rory didn't need somebody that's going to be in his ear and tell him, "Hey, it's 165 to cover this bunker." He didn't need all the technical thoughts. He needed somebody to encourage him, know his game personally, know him like, hey, like I know you're a little bit juiced up. Hit this 7. I think you'll be able to get it there, and kept it basic. I think Collin Morikawa has ascended mentally to where he just is kind of in his own world and feels a little bit more, puffed up and a little bit more, swaggy than usual. He's a major championship winner. You can't take that away from him. He's
You
won on the
cannot.
PGA Tour. I know
But
he's
we're
sliding right
getting
now.
we're
Right.
getting further and I don't want to discount it because it sounds dismissive, but we're getting further and further away from that success.
I know, but I still think with that, with the wins combined to what we would call sustained success on the tour, steadily in the top 10 world rankings, always in the money list, always in the playoffs. So even though he's not winning, still, success, still in the hot headlines and stuff like that. Just like prime example, we didn't have anybody in this tournament. We had Collin Morikawa in this tournament, and he still brings people to the gates. I would still say he has his own fanship, despite what he's got going on with the media. But I think his battles with the media, added with his success, has really got him a little bit head high. So he doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
need somebody that's going to be combative on the bag like a Joe Griner, because Joe Griner, him and
I don't
Max
know if he's
had that
combative.
rapport. Not,
I don't know. I
not,
mean,
maybe
because
combative isn't
when
the right word, but I'm saying maybe Joe Griner is giving him too much information, and Collin Morikawa wants to think for himself. Like, this is
maybe
completely different
I
than
wish
what
he had
Max
elaborated.
Homa.
He provided comments, and he just said their approach to things was different, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
preparation. He spoke more about the preparation side of it. So I don't. I mean, I don't know what that looks like from a going out and scouting. Clearly each player wants something different in terms of information that's provided to them. Maybe somebody doesn't want as much information. Who knows? Like you said with Rory, wanted something simpler. Maybe someone that isn't into the weeds as much as his previous caddy was. Same thing we saw with Jason Day and Colin Swadden, right? They just kind of outgrew each other. But I don't know. 5 tournaments doesn't seem like long enough to me to figure out whether that's a fit or not. Especially when I think the first tournament that they played together was actually pretty successful for Morikawa. So I don't know. He
But
also, I'll say one more thing and then I'll let you finish up. The communication that I see and his inability to communicate his ideas clearly, like to the media and the issues around the media, to me speak to a deeper issue in the background. That he'd also probably have issues communicating with a caddy, especially if it's not just perfect and natural. That him saying what he needs to get out of that caddy seems like it could be difficult from Colin's perspective. That's just my viewpoint on it.
I think you got to look at a guy like Max Homa, who's certainly trying to find himself right now, right? New new swing, new clubs. Joe Griner's probably just in the mindset of let's grind it out. Let's go to the range. Let's hit some balls. Let's figure out some numbers. Let's get on the GC quad. Let's figure it out. Collin Morikawa don't want to really. He probably had, like I said, he probably at the stage right now that he don't really need to know all that stuff. He's been playing. He's been playing um his tailor made Collin Morikawa prototypes for the last few years. He's got his numbers dialed in. He's not really doing too much wood changes. They're not testing his clubs because he's not really winning. He really not up in the hot seat like that as well. So, he probably don't feel like he needs to be on the range like that. And, if we're talking about preparation, Joe G, he probably like, yo, let's hit the range, like let's get it in. Collin Morikawa was like, yo, let's hit a hot 9. Let's figure out like how we gonna go about the course, and then I'm gonna just chip and putt and go on about my day with the wifey or whatnot, or however it may be. But that's probably the preparation that he's talking about. But
Mm.
I think Max needs somebody in his head like a Joe G. Collin Morikawa probably doesn't. And that's, I mean, you're
We'll
talking to an
just
over.
we'll agree to disagree because homeboy ain't winning. So until he I mean, he had a T8 this week. Cool, super cool. We saw he caught
Yeah.
fire. He wasn't playing that well in round one. If we see him, I mean, honestly, since that, what was it, the Honda, where he missed that putt pretty severely downhill, that's where things really started. Just, it was weird at that
You know,
point.
Arnold
So I
Palmer.
don't know. Whatever tournament it was, yeah. It was on the one part of the Florida swing. It was probably Arnold Palmer. Ended up three putting on 18. So to me, since then, I don't agree. If his mindset is that he doesn't need to grind, um, I couldn't be that couldn't be my player either. Like, hey man, you're not making putts, so we need to be spending as much time as we can trying to figure out your situation from a putter perspective.
No, I'm
Clearly they're
saying
gonna
like
have.
bashing balls and just hanging out on the
Well, no,
range and
no,
stuff
no,
like that.
no, 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 no. Grind. I mean, I think to me, just again, perception. What I can see, Max Homa, super laid back guy. I'm assuming Joe Griner is a very similar personality. It's kind of like, I mean, have you seen the dynamic with Saeed Thigala and his caddy? Both of those guys are from Cali, laid back caddies, super chill. So I don't think Griner is a like a pusher, but maybe he's also very direct in his communication. Like, hey man, where we've been losing strokes is on the green. So let's get out there and like I said, test out some new putters. I don't think he's gonna force. I mean, we know Collin Morikawa's cut is reliable as the day is long. So I don't think the disagreement is about that. I mean, we don't see issues with the ball strike, and he's still hitting greens. Let's just while I'm bullshitting.
Right.
Let's pull up
That,
the
that's
stats.
what I'm
Yeah,
saying. That's what I'm saying. Collin Morikawa doesn't need to be
you
on the
can't
range
assume
hitting
that. You
balls.
can't. But you can't assume that. We don't know their relationship like that. So I wouldn't go that deep and say, oh, this is, he's forcing them to hit balls or whatever. But to me, again, just super early to give up on the relationship. I mean, even so let's go to his stats, right? So from the Rocket Mortgage, strokes gained off the tee, 24th. Approach again, hidden greens, he's fourth in strokes gained in approach to the green. Guess what? No matter how well we thought he putted on Friday guess where he stood in the stats? So it was a full field event. Roughly throw your guess out there of where you think he ended up with putting strokes gained.
I mean, it's probably the top third, but when you're 155th on the first day, you're not going to be anywhere near the top. That's
Okay,
already going to have your average.
61st. 61st. I mean, but that's who he is, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's who he's been. So
right. But
that's where
even if
he's
you're talking
losing.
about if you're talking about practicing putting, my caddy doesn't need to be there for me to practice putting. My putting coach needs to be there. That has nothing to
But
do with
does
the
he have
caddy.
that? Yeah, but okay, so again, where is the disconnect? To me, it comes down to communication. Anytime where there's a partnership, it comes down to communication. So essentially, Griner is the employee of the player. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay, so the player is to be communicating, hey, as a caddy, this is what I need from you. These are the things that I'm working on. This is my approach to practice. This is my approach going into a week. Like, hey, I like to really take it easy on Mondays, right? I don't like to do anything after a tournament week. I'm not going to touch a club or a very minimal, very, short game, all that stuff. Tuesday, I'm going to start working into it, really putting in the work, full day of work, and then we go into the pro-am or whatever the case may be. This is on Collin Morikawa to communicate the needs, right? I don't think the kid understands, and I think that's worth saying is that from an age perspective, to me, he's still not that old. And there's a lot of immaturity despite his early resurgence. 28, still figuring it out. And I think his maturity level is actually lower than 28. Again, I can see how he's putting himself out there in front of the media, not very put together, not very pinned down as it relates to the emotional side of it. So I can see him getting into it with caddies and not being able to kind of work through it. And if you go to some of the quotes about the incident, it points to some community. I wouldn't say, let me not over exaggerate, but I think there's some underlying, I can't articulate what I need from you, and so it's better
Right.
that we just split.
Yeah,
But we'll see.
that just goes back to my original point though. He is probably so headstrong now that he just needs a yes man. He just needs somebody to hand him a club or somebody that's going to be able to pat him on the back and be like, "You're okay, hit the next shot." He doesn't need somebody like a Joe Griner that's established, that's a vet in the game, that's going to be like, "Hey, we need to be talking about this 6 or 7, or we need to be in, contemplation on what shot to hit." Collin
So do you
Morikawa
think
probably
that's
is at a
do you
point
think
where
that's
he's
the
going to be
approach though? Okay, fine, agreed. You say that's his mindset, but do you think that's the best approach for him?
for him. I don't know. If he can't putt, it doesn't
Okay.
matter, right?
Yes and no. I mean, if there is enough trust in a relationship, right? So let's just say this putter is the fix for the technique issues. Let's just say that is the case. If there is a level of trust there, I don't even know if it's reads at this point as well, right? From an execution standpoint, do you let your caddy just kind of take hold? Right? I always go back to this story because it's one of the early ones with me listening to broadcast and picking up on certain things like caddy and player relationships. Ryan Palmer, when he would come play the Colonial, his caddy
His
is a member at
Yeah, would
at
read all his
Colonial, right?
putts.
So he would literally say, hit it to this spot with this amount of pace, and it worked for them. And I don't think he ever won it, but he had some really good finishes. So do you get to that point in the weakest part of your game where you find somebody that you can say, hey, hit it to this spot with this amount of pace and just trust it? And you take your
No,
mind off that part of the game.
me
Oh, I know
personally,
the
no.
control. I get it from a control standpoint. He's not there, but I don't know. I these kids, and I keep calling them kids. Until you hit 35, I think you're still a kid, because there's still a lot of learning to be done in life and how you handle situations. These kids and changing caddies is becoming pretty prolific, and I think there's something to it. It's probably around kind of the environment growing up as an elite athlete, never being told no. Another person that we've seen emotionally not do well with this aspect of the game is Cam Young, flying off the handle. He's had caddy changes as well.
You
I just think that there's something to be gleaned from us seeing it so often these days. It's not just a coincidence. I don't think it's just happenstance. We've been used to guys sticking with caddies for a long period of time. So we now see a lot of these veteran caddies that are out here kind of that have their guys have graduated to the Champions Tour, or in the case of Caddy, not Caddy, Tiger and Joe LaCava. Joe LaCava's like, I still got to work. I need
Yeah,
to find another bag to get on, right?
yeah,
So he finds Patrick Cantlay, but he was with his guy for the longest period of time after Steve Williams, and now him and Patrick Cantlay, even though they're not really finding the success, have still stuck it out, right? So
yeah.
I'm interested to watch that with these young kids, especially when they have early success, high potential, but it doesn't necessarily pay off, right? So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. I think it's worth coming back to. It will not be the last time we talk about a caddy change in 2025. I'm pretty sure of
Yeah.
that. Let's move over to the Champions Tour. So they had their Senior Open. Patty Harrington ends up winning it his second time in like 4 years. So I'm assuming he won it 4 years ago. You know, good player, does a lot of online content, a good teacher of the game, talks about the values of the game. Saw
Yeah.
some really good advice from him early on in the, or it was late last year, about getting your kids into the game of golf. And I really do value his opinion. So early on in the tournament, you see a video, bad audio, so it really isn't worth playing, of him not making eye contact with Roger Maltby in an awkward confrontation, saying, like asking Roger why he wasn't helping them search for a ball, him and his playing competitor. And, Roger's like, I'm not the player. I'm not out here to be looking for, I have a job to do, essentially, right? I'm
Yeah.
commentating. I'm not
And it's
looking
not
for
spotter.
y'all's ball. Right. So I didn't know. Again, I'm body language, not looking at the man while you're confronting him. Very weird. I felt like Patty Harrington was way out of line for that. I couldn't find anyone other than I saw like one or two random commenters on assorted videos where they were like, "Yeah, he should absolutely help them," but again, that was very rare. What'd you think of that situation? It was awkward, and I felt Harrington was in the wrong.
Yeah, no, agreed. Worst part about it to me is, look, Roger Maltby is hired and brought on to talk the game of golf. He is a former player, established on the PGA Tour for freaking 4 or 5 decades now. For you to try to diminish him to ball watcher and spotter
Right.
is ridiculous. Like, yo,
Right.
excuse my language, but you got me effed up, bro. If you think I'm about to sit here, like, you hear it on the commentary. Yeah, it should be good. That should be all right. I got it going down this line. It should be on the fairway. And let the cameraman do the rest of the work with his ability to watch the ball in the air. It ain't
And
for
spotters.
Maltby and for spotters. You got a spotter per player, so you got 3 or 4. You should have enough of a crowd that should be keeping an eye out on that. So for you to try to put that burden on Maltby is just ridiculous, just straight up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for him to try to confront him out post round, you way out of line for that, bro.
Out in the open, like in
With
this
the crowd,
kind of common area. It was super. It was bizarre, and that's where I
super
think.
awkward.
I mean, yeah, like people get too comfortable of talking, and I feel like Patty Harrington has like kind of reached that point where it's like, okay, cool, man, you've been getting a ton of kudos. Everybody's
Right.
been on your program for a while. Don't get a big head about yourself, where you have to have an opinion about every damn thing.
Yeah.
It was
No,
just weird. It was super weird.
Truly. Yeah, I really didn't know where he was trying to angle that, but it wasn't a good angle for him.
No. So hopefully he can get his shit together, but congratulations on the win. It's like we've kind of had, I don't know, I wouldn't call Angel Cabrera a youngster, but, a little bit of a resurgence, winning 2 this year for himself, 2 tournaments.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of the guys that were good on the Champions Tour years ago when we first, really got into it are now starting to fade away. Kind of having a bit of a youth movement where the guys that are closer to 50 are winning again. Sink was, competing as well. I saw somebody saying, PGA Tour's got to let Phil back on that thing. I don't even know if Phil would be able to compete with these guys at this point where his game is.
True.
But
I said it too, though.
You said it too. They should let him back on
last week. I said
That's
it.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of down on Phil, but I mean, if it would bring the ratings in, because nobody's watching Champions Tour right now.
Exactly. That's it. It would just be a numbers thing. Like, hey, let's go watch Phil. And even if it's a hate watch, let's go watch Phil suffer. Let's
it,
go do it.
it would be a hate watch, no doubt, 100%.
For sure.
He's been so bad. It's interesting. You shot me the text that Richard Bland, the defending champion of the U.S. Open, couldn't even compete because LIV had a tournament going on in hot Dallas Fort Worth. So he wasn't able to defend his tournament, which is kind of crazy. So
couldn't even defend his own stuff, bro. Unreal. Let's see where you went.
He finished.
Yeah. Let's see where you went. Richard Bland, middle of the pack, T18.
Congratulations to Patrick Reed winning in crispy Dallas, Texas. I mean, so my weekend round happened to be on Saturday as well, which was the hottest day of their tournament. A little bit of breeze, but it was a lot of humidity. It was brutal. Saturday in North Texas was absolutely brutal. I played on the course with a decent amount of tree cover, so you're able to get some relief. Meridell has no tree cover. I mean, it's wide open. You are exposed. And I'm sure they have, a couple little covers here and there, but they struggled with, the conditions. Fans had to be escorted to the medical tent. Lady faded in front of another guy who was like, "Oh yeah, this feels very well prepared." I'll be real. From my experience, there weren't a lot of accommodations, and it's last year when we went. While it was a decent event, it was in September, so it was actually hotter than it was this week. I think they had some 99-degree temperatures last year in September. We've said this before. We said it last year when LIV played in Houston around the same time. Texas
Don't
golf,
do it.
Where you are walking in the summer after May is pretty much off the table, right? I think we even said it this year on the PGA Tour. The Houston tournament,
they were pushing it.
They were pushing the boundaries of heat exposure, and I don't know. June is crazy work to put a tournament in Dallas Fort Worth in June, late June, almost July. So,
man, I'm going through the list. Oh boy, look at these bottom feeders. So, Luis Carrera, he shot a plus 14 in the 2 rounds that he played after switching out for Brooks Koepka after he WD'd. Mito Pereira played all 3 rounds, plus 15. Peter Uihlein, all 3 rounds, 14. Ian Poulter, 13. Ollie Schneiderjans, 12. Boy, did he fall off the side of the planet. Phil Mickelson, 11 over. Newcomer Ballester just recently signed, 10 over. Yep. Kevin Na, 9. Matt Jones, Lewis Herbert, 8, 9, and 8 respectively. Jason Kokrak just fell off the man. I just don't even know what to say about him, man. I really don't. And then
so let's go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to say one last thing. The rest of these names, I don't, a few of them, but Danny Lee in particular really had the promise of Australia or New Zealand or whichever one of those countries really on his shoulders. He had all the potential. The swing is pure. I mean, when we're talking about coming up and, kind of taking over the reins for Adam Scott and that whole region, just for him to just take the money and run and him to not even have any kind of success. We haven't seen any nor win from him at all, nor have we seen potential. You know what I'm saying? He taking this guaranteed 80, 90K or whatever and just going about his business. And that's fine. But
it's just where players' careers essentially go
go
to
to
die for
die.
the most part, right? I mean,
Yeah,
when you look
laid
at
to rest.
this is not a crazy hard course, but you only had 20 players finish under par,
Yeah,
and the rest of the field is over par. So even or above par was 20 players. And then, like you said, some of these numbers are actually pretty high. Um, they didn't log a final score for career. I guess, theoretically, he took Brooks's +9 in the first round, combined with his +5, and then another +9.
right.
So, I mean, these are kind of crazy scores. These are guys shooting 78s, 79s. Carlos Ortiz, who we saw just playing in the U.S. Open, shot a +7, then went 2 under, and then +3 for a combined +8. These are crazy bad performances, and I said it when the kid Ballester signed with LIV. What development opportunities is he going to have to improve his game over there? They're not playing,
Exactly.
often enough or really PGA quality courses. I think this is a high level course. I think Merido is great for college tournaments, kind of the off season stuff that they do kind of in the winter roll around, but
Yeah,
not a summer course. It's not built for that. So
yeah.
shout
Hey,
out to
shout out to HV3 for getting T5th. Only shooting 1 under par round and still got T5th. Literally shot 5 under the first day, went even the next 2 days, and managed to get a T5 out of that. Congrats, buddy.
hey, good for him.
I mean, shit. Shit.
Hopefully,
Padraig Reed shot 3 over on the last day. Oh, he had to go into a playoff with this Kazuma dude, whoever that is. Whoever that
their
is.
leaderboard
Yeah.
is not very. I see it at
Louis
the top.
Oosthuizen, playoff. Paul Casey, they all shot 6. All right. It was a 4-man playoff. Well, I mean, if y'all want to get on LIV's YouTube and I guess and try to see if there's any highlights or anything.
Yeah, but the way that their leaderboard is set up online, it's not very clear. It just shows Pat Reed on the playoff performance. That's weird.
It doesn't even say playoff. It just says
guys.
1. Yeah, it says 1 T-second, T-second, T-second. So I'm just assuming it was a playoff.
No. At the very top here, there's a chyron that says playoff for first place. Playoff hole number 1, or playoff hole, the first playoff hole, 18 they played, and it just shows Pat Reed getting his birdie. But it does not show Kazuma, Oosthuizen, or Casey what they did. I guess they just didn't finish the hole. So anyway, enough blasting. I did think about putting together a Why Live Sucks video, but I don't feel like arguing with people right now. So I'm gonna keep that one.
No need.
I'm gonna keep that one. So you sent this story earlier today. I had seen it, but just kind of zoomed by it. On the Corn Ferry Tour, I'll let you kind of run it down. I have pretty strong thoughts about it, but I'm very curious where you stand because we haven't talked about it yet. So go ahead.
Yeah, so Cole Hammer, I originally saw it just randomly. Sorry to even admit to this. I was on Facebook for some strange reason and just so happened to come across it.
Did you get a Golf Digest?
I did. It was a suggested article, and I saw it and I'm like, oh, I know this name. He grew up in the Houston area, so I had seen him a time or two in Golf Galaxy. Him and his dad's a really nice guy. Cole Hammer, typical I'm better than everybody type amateur growing up. Then went to UT, storied program. But yeah, so Corn Ferry Tour, he slept on it even, right? He slept on this score and this official, and then woke up and told the tour officials the next day that the caddy from his playing partner asked him, did he hit a 4-iron? And Cole Hammer nodded and said yes. So he said, I couldn't sleep. I was tossing and turning all night, and I had to just go to the rules official. They interviewed him afterwards. He said, I felt such a levity off of me after that from telling them that I did that. So the rules officials got together, DQ'd both playing competitors, and nobody made any money.
On the 6 hole.
Right. So, like I was telling you, I think it's a weird rule to have. Now, I will say it's kind of nuanced because I feel like when me and Rod or me and my friends play, and we're on the tee box of a par 3, for instance, yardage is 170, no wind, nothing at play, middle of the green. You know, you're going to hit your chosen club. You're walking back to the green. You're walking back to the carts. Hey, what did you hit there? Oh, I just hit like a
shots,
little.
Yeah.
After the shot. I just hit like a 7 there. Oh, I tried to yam an 8, or I just played like a chill 6. You know, your little range that you have between those clubs, depending upon how you feel, how you're striking it, whatnot. These, I just don't feel like it's that big a deal, but when money's involved, I understand why it is in the rules. So for him to feel like he needed to go to the rules officials is kind of, but I get it.
You know, further reading, it seemed like he thought that he was going to be the one that would be punished for revealing the number and not both of them for asking. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you feel that bad about it, it also is worth, I don't know, looking up the rule to see what the scenario would be, or, you know, if it could adversely affect your guy from the day before, like you said.
Right.
Slept on it the whole night, or badly slept on it, only to have that other player. Imagine you not knowing what's going on.
And then all just going about your
round. Right. Probably not going to make the cut because I think it ended up being like 5 under. But, yeah, I would be pissed off. And then I wonder now how Cole Hammer is going to be perceived in the locker room going forward.
Right.
Do you just not communicate with him? You know, because I don't know. It seems like a weird reaction.
Very weird, especially since, not saying that I really like Paul McGinley, but Paul McGinley has even said that it's just kind of like a understood thing. I mean, we all see it. They're all lined up in a line alongside each other on the tee boxes. Right. You telling me them guys ain't?
They look down in bags all the time. All the time. Like I've seen players do it in tournaments, on like camera. All the time, where they're like, oh, okay. Let's prominent example from this year. The players playoff with Roy McIlroy and JJ Spawn. He saw him grab 9, not knowing that Rory's hitting this kind of sawed off 9, and then JJ Spawn goes full 9 and, you know, flies the entire green. Guess what? Make your own decisions, right? Exactly. I mean, you do that at your own peril, but we know that it happens all the time. We've seen it in person. We've seen it on TV. Players have admitted to it. So, I mean, it's weird. Cole Hammer really in his head about that one, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite stories when we first started getting into golf of the Tiger lore. Tiger's playing with Adam Scott. Tiger goes up first, hits this like high floaty iron. It's like a 190-ish, and he hits a 4-iron and just lands it hole high, just a perfect little floaty. Adam Scott sees that he grabbed 4, and he's like, shoot, if he's got 4, then I for sure need 4, because Tiger's the best iron player. And then you see Adam Scott fly the green with the same 4-iron.
Right.
they don't know the energy that he's being put into this for, or the loss that's on these for. Mind your business. You can ask him all you want. It
Right.
doesn't matter because you're not hitting the same shot. You don't have the same swing and the same distance. So again,
Yeah.
weird
I don't. I
rule.
don't. I don't know if we exchanged it, but kind of on the Tiger thing, I don't know if we exchanged video on Instagram, but I saw where Tiger was on the range and the guy's like, same club, hits it like a low stinger and then turns around and hits like a high uh, cut or something. And it's like completely different shots, but it's like within 2 yards of each other.
Yeah,
That's Tiger.
that's
Everybody doesn't
Tiger.
have that in the bag.
Exactly.
So, like you
Yeah,
said,
so
play your own clubs.
strange. I guess kudos to Cole Hammer though. Integrity in the game.
If,
Woohoo!
if he can sleep better at the end of the day, kudos to him. Quick mention of the LPGA ladies. Um, Jin Hee M and Somi Lee of South Korea win the Dow, the team event. I watched all of about 15 minutes of the event. It just wasn't very appealing to me. Um,
Yeah.
it just wasn't great. Format was I couldn't immediately pick up on it because I saw holes where the teammate wasn't even in the shot or wasn't involved in it.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, we'll
Yeah.
see.
Unfortunately, swing and a miss on this. It just, again, we've talked about this timing. Timing here, the timing was not well. You got the U.S. Seniors Open, you got the PGA going on. It's not the time for a teaming event because we don't have the energy to even go over there and watch it. DP World Tour is
No,
playing. You're in between coverages and stuff like that. You play that early on in the season next to like the match play or something like that when we're sitting here, kind of watching out for it. But
yeah.
I don't know. I too caught very limited coverage of it. Um,
And it was later in the day, so it was very possible to watch more, but it just wasn't enough to grab my attention. To just keeping
right,
it real.
right. I don't know. I saw Megan Kang and Lexi Thompson play pretty well together. Um, I don't know. Stacey Lewis and Maria Fossey tried this Arkansas teammate stuff again. Didn't work again. I don't know how much longer they're gonna allow Stacey Lewis on the tour. She ain't did
I
nothing
know, right?
but
It's been a while.
complain and miscut. So I just don't know how long. But when you're the
So
number one player at some point, I guess they keep you on. I don't know. I don't know, Rob.
crazy timing. So July is going to be super busy for the ladies. Not this week. So they have a week off, and then
They got
they
the
have the
Evian,
Evian, and then
so I
two
guess it's
weeks
a
later
travel week.
or
They
three
do their
weeks
open.
later, yeah, the women's open is at the end of July. So a couple weeks, so they'll go this week off, Evian, another week off. They're doing the Scottish Open, so kudos to them for duplicating the same kind of setup as the men, a prep
Same
tournament
course
in the
too.
similar conditions. Yeah. And then the AIG Women's Open. So interesting July for the ladies. Hopefully, they can get back on get our attention back in the early part of July. But yeah, this week was a swing and a miss.
I guess it's you know what? It's a swing and a miss for fans, but I guess for them, this is like that little just tune up, kind of like chill week for them. Players that wanted to go over ahead and just go ahead and get acclimated on the European timeline, I guess, or time zone, could just go ahead and
Yep.
go over there instead of traveling at the end of the week. But yeah, man, I'm gonna
Um,
try to justify it as best as possible because otherwise, I just don't know why you would do that, bro.
so we
I
got
really don't.
the July 4th holiday, John Deere Classic. I'll be watching because ain't nothing else to do.
It really isn't. Hold up,
I'm
is the
sure the
DP World
old.
Tour playing?
I'm positive they are. They go pretty hard,
Let's
especially
see.
this time of year. So they had the
Yes, they
Italian
will.
Open,
Yeah, this is the last
BMW.
lane. Yeah, the BMW International in Germany. It's the last of the European swing.
Okay.
That little six event thing that they do over there, or eight of one, two, wait, one, two, three, four. Yeah, six events. So now they're going into the closing swing before they go to the back nine. I don't know what these names are for these sections, because why would you say the closing swing but then have more events and then call it the back nine?
I don't know. Marketing, bad
Why
marketing at
wouldn't
that.
you,
So,
right? Why wouldn't you say back nine, then closing swing, and then get into your playoffs? You know what? That's not for me to judge. That's not for me to judge. That's my bad. That's my bad.
um,
But yeah, so they'll be
that's
in
it
Germany
for the.
next week. So we'll see them.
That's it. That's it for the golf this week. Any quick thoughts before we wrap up on NBA draft last week? Other than it was a shit ton of trades, a lot of trades last week in the draft.
It was,
Any
yeah.
thoughts?
Hopefully Cooper Flag's the real deal. It's seeming so. He's got a perfect little opportunity, and it being Dallas, where we already have established bigs, and he doesn't have to go out and be the star every night. He might catch a couple of starts. He might catch a couple of, key moments where he's in that fourth quarter when we need a win in time moment.
You
So
talking about Flag? Oh, he's starting at
yeah,
the gate. What are you talking about? He's not
well,
gonna.
who's he gonna
He's not
start
a
over
bench.
there?
He's gonna start. You don't put your first pick first rounder on the bench. He's not. He's gonna play immediately.
Who?
Um,
He's gonna play, and he's gonna play a lot. He's gonna win Rookie of the Year. Who is he starting over? He plays small forward, power forward. You're not moving AD.
um,
He just complained all year that he doesn't want to play five. He's four. PJ Washington
okay.
ain't coming off the bench, and
PJ
D Live is the
Washington's gonna
starting
be your
center.
two. PJ Washington's gonna be your two.
Clay Thompson's coming off the bench. You pay him 18 mil a year to send him off the bench.
Yeah, that's who Clay
D,
Thompson is right now.
D'Angelo Russell is D'Angelo Russell's going to
Okay,
start until
I
Kyrie
have
comes
not
back.
caught that. When did that happen?
That just happened today.
Like this
2
afternoon,
years,
this evening, right?
yeah, 2 years, 13 mil. Just a
Oh man.
serviceable guy until Kyrie comes back, beginning of
Okay, that's crazy.
2026.
The downfall is crazy for D'Angelo Russell because the money. I somehow I accidentally turned on those sham alerts, so I've been getting all kind of random alerts, all the free agent signings and the money that they're throwing around to guys who I've barely heard of, and so for him to only get like 2 years, 13 mil, the downfall is
I,
crazy.
at, at first, I heard it was 1 year, 13 mil, which is okay, which I think is about reasonable for D'Lo. But I mean, it's team friendly. They'll probably, have some bonuses in there. But he knows what it is. He's a trade piece. He's not really going to be the guy ever again. And I think they exposed him. They exposed how off and on he is for LA. They traded him. He is an offense only guy. Like he just needs to, like he's got a lot of help behind him in Dallas. So that's why he can make it work for us. But he's a defensive liability, and it's getting more and more put in the spotlight because his offense isn't as elite as it once was, unfortunately for him.
Right,
So
right.
he'll still be able to lead the offense, and he'll be able to do what Jason Kidd asked of him on the offensive side of the ball. And he just better hope Clay, PJ, AD, Flag, D Live, Gafford behind him, pick up the scraps, because defensively he's a liability, and that's just what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, and he's only 29 years old. That's the crazy part. Still
Yeah,
technically pretty young. I mean, old for getting up there for an NBA player, but Still
This
should
what
have
his
a lot
I
of
think
years left in the tank.
he'll still have some years left. He'll become a specialist, spot up, off ball guard. But yeah, I think this is 11th season. He only played 1 year at Ohio State and came right out. But
Yeah.
hey, if we're talking not, we all know what it looks like when we have like the high school mixtapes. But if we're talking college mixtapes, D'Angelo Russell has one of the best ones for a 1 year stint at a premier college. I mean, the passing ability is crazy. The scoring at all three levels, the breakdown off the dribble, he had it. So I think
Yeah,
the
but he's
fall off
all
is kind
his
of crazy for him.
but he's also been in addition to the, no defense,
The
spotty
rat,
offense these last few years.
the
He's
rat
been
in
a
the
locker
locker
room.
room.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's been a locker room issue in multiple
yeah.
spots. So it's
Rat
not
phenomenal off
just,
track.
oh, he had this one issue in LA. No, it's followed him around. So that's also part of it. Like, hey, no one's willing to mix you in with their team where you can be a negative influence. So
Right.
ah,
No, facts.
yeah, we'll see. All right, y'all. Um, we'll see everybody after the July 4th holiday. Have a very safe one. If you're celebrating with alcohol, stay at home, stay off the road. Um, it's just advised during a holiday
Get a
weekend,
damn
stay off the
Uber.
road. Right. Don't drink and drive. Enjoy your friends and family. Come out of the weekend alive. Pop some fireworks. Don't shoot guns. I mean, we're from Texas, so that has become super popular, is shooting guns in the air. So
Yeah.
keep it safe, and we'll catch y'all again probably on next Monday, depending on the schedule. So,
Yes,
Bearded Bros
sir.
Golf Show. I'm Rod.
And I'm Marcus.